It is midday in Douala, Cameroon. Thank you for joining us for another edition of the program Newsroom on Canada English. The day of Friday, the 2nd of March 2018, will have gone unnoticed. But when the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, signed a decree appointing some members of government into the government of Cameroon, it became a memorable day in Cameroon history. Partial cabinet reshuffle that was yesterday, bringing in some new persons into new positions in the country. This is coming when the chairman of the Social Democratic Front, John Frundi, has written a letter to the President of the Republic talking about the Anglophone crisis, giving some measures that need to be taken urgently in order to stop an imminent civil war that the chairman of the Social Democratic Front mentioned that hate speech has become the order of the day with the urgent need for dialogue to take its course. My name is Dominic Memenwakimo, and this is Newsroom. We shall be meeting our guest just in a jiffy, but time for us to get the major headlines of what has been happening this week with Regina Leakey.
The use of hate speech is increasingly drawing Cameroon towards a civil war, a key statement by the chairman of the Social Democratic Front to President Paul Biya. In an open letter to Paul Biya this week, John Frundi regrets why the president has not engaged in meaningful dialogue despite the enormous material and human destructions taking place in the two English-speaking regions of the country. What can be the implication of the letter towards resolving the crisis? Newsroom takes a detailed analysis of the famous letter of Frundi to Mr. Paul Biya. What will be the outcome of March parliamentary session this year? That is the big question as parliamentarians and senators returned to the lawmaking house yesterday. At the level of the Senate, the world is watching keenly if Senator Ford Mokete will let go a golden opportunity, table a private member bill at the Senate to debate the Anglophone crisis. He has made several out-of-Senate statements that stands contrary to the view of the regime. Stakes of the March parliamentary session are seen through the lens of our analysis in this edition. And is Cameroon becoming a military state? The frequent use of forces of law and order to brutally silence protest actions carried out by other Cameroonians has left many concluding that exaggerated powers have been accorded to the men in uniform. This week, disgruntled secondary school teachers were beaten and others arrested in Yaoundé as they plan to protest and call for the payment of their rights. Newsroom equally focuses on the recent activities of the military when it comes to civilian protest. This is Newsroom, the platform of information flow and analysis.
Thank you very much, Regina Leakey Tandak, for keeping a diary of the major news item that happened this week. Time for us to welcome our guests for the program this day. Let's receive Tayonfa Elvis. You are a journalist and a political analyst. Thank you for coming for the program.
Thank you very much, Mehmet Dominic. I think I've been away for a while, but I think with burning issues at stake, I think I come back full force.
Welcome you wholeheartedly. This week, 56 teachers are demanding for the payment of their allowances in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. Some of them were beaten, 56 of them arrested by the regime in place. It has become a little bit frequent for the military or force of law and the order arresting other civilians of different professions that are asking for their rights. What is really the problem?
Well, the problem stems from various directions. First, the regime has expired. I will tell them over and over. Because when you look at the regime that is put in place, say elected by the people, and then at the end of it, you work against the will of the people, means something is wrong somewhere. But then when we look at it critically, Cameroon has a funny scenario you must always have to agitate for your right. Then they molest you, they arrest you. At the end of the whole issue, they come back to dance to your tune, meaning something is wrong somewhere. If we look at what is happening, it's for the simple fact that Cameroon and the government present is failing to learn from the lessons of the Anglophone crisis. Remember when teachers started, lawyers started, they took many things for granted, molested them all the line, see where we are today. And now teachers themselves coming out again and asking for their right, which they know it's their right and the government knows. Molesting them, I think it's a bad faith, we call it bad faith. So everything being equal, it's telling you that the government is redundant and has nothing to offer. That's the more reason why we keep on saying that if people cannot read the handwriting on the wall, that time for change has come. Then I bet you we'll have many more arrests, especially when we are not living in a military state, which is not what we advocated for from the beginning.
The president of the Now movement, that is Barrister Akirimuna, in his Twitter account this morning condemned the arrest of 56 teachers that were arrested in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, because they were asking for the payment of their allowances. Let's welcome Barrister Atanga Charles Mbambole. You are a militant of the Social Democratic Front and equally a lawyer in this country. Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you, Dominic, and a good afternoon to our televiewers. And like you said, I am a member of the Social Democratic Front, the leading political party in Cameroon, and one of its national legal advisors.
Thanks so much for coming. You are equally the author of the book, What Future for the Social Democratic Front, SDF, after 27 years of existence. That's a new book that you just launched recently. That was last week in the course of the National Elective Convention of the Social Democratic Front. What is the book actually talking about?
Thank you for this opportunity to talk about the book. The book, as you rightly said, is a critical look at the SDF after 27 years of existence, 27 to 28. And it's an information campaign on this great political party so that Cameroonians, especially young Cameroonians, should know more about the SDF and to be interested in politics and to participate in the SDF. Like Elvis said, there is no political gain that we have without participating in it. So it's an information campaign on the SDF. Its brief history, the challenges the SDF has had over 27 years, the squabbles, and many other personal opinions which have been put into writing for Cameroonians. And it is both in English and in French.
Now, I see there is chapter 5 here, or chapter 6, that talk about the SDF challenge by other political parties beside the CPDM party, which means you are trying to recognize that beside the Social Democratic Front, which is at the moment is the leading opposition party in Cameroon, there are other political parties that are fighting on the ground to challenge the Social Democratic Front.
Of course, you know, there are over 300 and or maybe more political parties in Cameroon. And what I focus on in that chapter is that for 27 to 28 years, the SDF has had a lot of squabbles, and we've stood tall. And most of these people who challenge the SDF have left, and some have created political parties, and they are on the political ground too. So we cannot talk about the SDF without looking at what impact or what influence these political parties have on our own political party. So that's the content of that chapter. And to let people know that when you leave the SDF should not be your enemy. I think the enemy is on the other side, not the SDF, but most of them spend time attacking the SDF, which is rather unfortunate.
Just to say that the Social Democratic Front last week elected Honorable Joshua Osei as the flag bearer of that political party for the 2018 presidential elections. There have been a lot of comments about his personality to challenge President Paul Biya that has been in power for 35 years. Time for us to get what the newspapers have been talking about this week, put together by Morinti.
The flag bearer of the Social Democratic Front Party lashes out that President Paul Biya would have been impeached the very day he declared war against his people. In an interview with the Post newspaper, Honorable Joshua Osei laments that 0.1% of Cameroonians enjoy 90% of state budgets. The Member of Parliament for Vuri Center declares plans of reducing the presidential mandate in Cameroon from 7 to 5 years or 4 years when he gets to power. To La Nouvelle Expression, Honorable Osei wins a crushing majority at the National Elective Convention of his party to lead the party in the 2018 presidential elections. But the paper questions the presence of Titus Ezwa, one-time Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, at the SDF convention in Bamenda last week. The Post newspaper stays in politics but writes that a total of 9 political parties await the validation or rejection of their candidacy. The Post newspaper stays in politics but writes that a total of 9 political parties await the validation or rejection of their senatorial files by Elecam. The close to 2 years Anglophone crisis exposed the incompetence of the Minister of Territorial Administration and Decentralization. Le Detective newspaper says Minister René Emmanuel Sadi is on a hot seat as tension continues in the northwest and southwest regions. To La Nouvelle Expression, Minister Issa Chiroma Bakari is receiving medical attention in Yaoundé after suffering a malaise. The Star newspaper writes that traditional rulers in the southwest region are the prime targets of separatists at the moment. The paper cites the case of the chief of Ikiliwindi, kidnapped last week alongside the Secretary General of the village council. The Enquirer newspaper therefore questions the implication of the arrest of Ayok Tabe Julius and 46 others. The paper tells us that a consortium of 10 lawyers are already negotiating on how to push the regime of President Paul Biya to dish out fair trial or to the separatist leaders. Several newspapers explore the letter of the chairman of the SDF to President Paul Biya. John Frundi says hate speech is gradually drawing Cameroon towards a civil war. We end in sports with La Nouvelle Expression stating that the Cameroon Football Normalization Committee has seen its mandate extended by 6 months. FIFA issued a decision this week to permit the team, led by barrister Dieudonné Happy, to write down texts and organize free and fair elections. The Normalization Committee is expected to complete their assignments before the 31st of August 2018.
As you must have corrected there, that was rather Indira Ayuk and not Morindi, as Aila announced. Indira Ayuk, thank you so much for keeping us updated on what the newspapers have been writing about this week. Time for us to talk about our major topic for this day. We are talking about the cabinet reshuffle that happened yesterday, late Friday, March the 2nd, 2018. The President of the Republic, President Paul Biya, took all Cameroonians and most especially the world in general by surprise by appointing some new members of government into his government. He named a number of persons that have come in maybe for the very first time, and the others that have mainly changed their positions from one ministry to the next. Before we talk about try to analyze the presidential appointment made yesterday, time for us to just give our listeners the various positions and the new person that have been appointed. We have the Minister of Territorial Administration. The minister is Paul Atanganji. We have the Minister of Decentralization and Local Development. He is Elanga Obam George. We have the Minister of Water and Energy, Elundu Esumba Gaston. We have the Minister of Economy, Planning and Regional Development, Alamin Usman Mim. We have the Minister of Secondary Education, Naluva Lyonga Pauline Egbe. We have the Minister of Finance, Louis Paul Mutazi. We have the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reforms, Joseph Lee. We equally have the Minister of Forestry and Wildlife, Jodore Ndungu. We have the Minister of Transport, Jean-Ernest Ngale Bibe Masina. We have the Minister Delegate to the Ministry of Economy, Planning and Regional Development, Tassom Njukan Paul. We have the Minister Delegate in charge of Finance, Yauba Adulai. We have the Minister Delegate to External Relations in charge of Commonwealth, Mbayu Felix. We have the Minister in charge of Special Duties, René Emmanuel Sadi and Diongote Joseph. We have the Secretary General in charge of National Gendarmerie, Etunga Galas Eve Landry. We have the Secretary General at the Ministry of Public Works in charge of roads, Njudo Aman. We have the Minister, Assistant Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, Elumpol Che. We have Director of Civil Cabinet at the Presidency of the Republic, Mvondo Ayuno Samuel. And lastly, we have the Deputy Director of Civil Cabinet, Baboke Oswell. These are the new persons that were appointed yesterday through a presidential decree. Let me start with you, Tayofa Elvis. The appointment of new persons into various ministries in Cameroon yesterday by the President of the Republic. How strategic is this partial cabinet reshuffle?
Well, I think when we say strategic, it will be depending on one angle we are looking at. It could be strategic for probably to the powers that be, because President Paul Biya knows why he's carrying out that cabinet reshufflement. We know it would have been done earlier. There have been several media speculations concerning a cabinet shake-up along up to the present date. We have been unable to arrive at that. But then, when I look at it, I will still have some worries as a Cameroonian and a political analyst looking at a point of at a particular point of view. I realize that it's true the president has prerogative powers. It is his fundamental right enshrined in the constitution to appoint his cabinet members the way he thinks it should be. But along the line, as Cameroonians too, it is also our own fundamental right to also comment on it. Even if our comments will mean nothing, but we have a say as Cameroonians living in this country. Now, when I look at the cabinet shake-up, it's true, some will say it's timely because elections are coming. The head of state knows why he is carrying out that initiative, but now, not earlier as earlier expected. But when I look at it critically, there are some issues that I found wanting, and I'm sure those who are the advisors of the presidency will bear with me, even if they refuse to bear, they should bear. First, we understand that we are living through some crisis, and through the crisis, we are living under financial constraint. That's why you see our borrowing capacity has been increasing at an increasing rate. Those economists who listen to me, they understand what I'm talking about. Now, coming at the time whereby we are looking forward that we are supposed to reduce the number of ministries to make sure that we concentrate money where it's supposed to be, we are instead adding. Now, when we look at decentralization and then territorial administration coming in, splitting it, I think it's not necessary at this point in time. We have so many things, hot fires on our table, that adding these ministries, adding the budget, adding or whatnot, running budget or the like, for me, it's not necessary at the present moment. Now, when we look at the handful of persons put in,
we'll come to that. We'll come to analyze various ministers that have been brought in various positions. Yeah. Barrister Tanga, the appointment of the partial cabinet reshuffle that happened yesterday, many Cameroonians did not expect that at this time. What's the point of view as far as this new appointment is concerned?
Dominique, I will be frank, it's a circus, it's a distraction that has been served to Cameroonians for the past 35 years, which has brought this country to its knees, to where we are. Every government move should be for the people, but this is not a country where we've had a ruler for 35 years and who has been coming up with several governments where we feel we are a very poor nation. There is nothing that works in this country. So let Cameroonians not be distracted. Let's remain focused. 2018 is a year to send away this regime. So whatever appointments, whatever tactical moves they are making now should not distract us. So that's what I have to say about the circus of last night.
Now, objectively, the Ministry of Finance, previously, the Minister was Alamin Usman May. This time around, Louis Paul Motazi have been appointed to that key ministry, that is the Ministry of Finance. What is your take on that?
It goes back to what I've been saying. We keep changing seats. What do this bring to us? What do this bring to us? I mean, the same ministry, a few days ago, teachers were beaten because we were asking for money. Do they need to be changing seats to have these teachers? We don't need 20 ministers. What we are interested in is that when teachers are trained from their training schools and they are posted, they should be paid their salary. So all this, like I said, it's a distraction. Let Cameroonians not lose focus. 2018 is a year for us to flush away this regime, and let's be working towards that. Let's be working towards that by getting ourselves registered and preparing for elections. That's what I have to say about this government.
Tayofa Elvis, you just listened to Barrister explaining that particular ministry is something that Cameroonians don't joke with, because If there is any problem at the level of finance, then the country will probably be on its knees. Many people expected that, thought Lamin Usman May was a technocrat in that particular ministry, and thus changing him and bringing in Louis Paul Mutaze might not be a good choice.
Well, it will depend on what angle they are looking at it. Paul Mutaze, I don't have any problem with him. I think I see him as an economic guru. He has what it takes to push things the way it's supposed to be. But my worry now is, at the present dispensation, do we still need the same persons recycling them over and over? That's where I get worried. We have quite qualified Cameroonians out there, and it will be heartening that people come on stage, they go back to another portfolio, they come back and keep taking them round and round. So to me, I would not want to call it news event, because if you want to look at the personalities, we should start talking about new breed. If we talk about Vision 2035 put in place by the head of state, it should not be a vision of recycling people. It should be a vision of bringing in new ideas that come with new brains to push this country ahead. So, Louis Paul Mutaze, it's good, yes, but I think he needs to take a rest. I started hearing about Louis Paul Mutaze when I was still young till today, from CNPS, what is the National Social Insurance, moving from one direction to another and all the like. And here he's coming back in at the level of finance. He could be a good financial expert, but at this time, what the head of state should have done, in my own thinking, is that all these ministers who had served for long in different capacities, they should send them now as technical advisors at the various ministries. That is my humble truth, my honest truth. If they can serve as advisors, then new brains, new economists, new agriculturalists fit in the square peg as a square hole. I think that we can now go back to these old rooms and say, please, we have a problem here. How do we go about it? But bringing them in, we are simply playing what they call mafia dance in front and getting in front and getting back, which will not yield us any fruit at this present point in time.
Now, this week, I asked you the first question at the beginning of this program, talking about some 56 teachers of secondary school that were beaten, and some of them are arrested in the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. But at the level of the Ministry of Secondary Education, Dr. Nalova Lyonga Pauline Egbe, a former Vice Chancellor of the University of Buea, and before her appointment, she was the board chair of the Douala General Hospital. She had been appointed the Minister of Secondary Education. When you look at her track record from the University of Buea, passing through several other positions to the board chair of the Douala General Hospital, do you think Dr. Nalova will deliver at the level of the Minister of Secondary Education?
Well, thank God you asked me track record. I've been following the track record of Dr. Nalova Lyonga, seriously. I think there were some squabbles at the University of Buea which were poorly handled, and we understand that security forces were called in, students were tortured, robbed on the mud, and we have never had any apology from doctor as I speak till now. And so if I see you talking me about looking at track record, I don't think she can deliver the good, because we are looking at leaders who have interest for the people, leaders who can protect the people. And so, you know, the secondary education is a sensitive ministry. You always have teachers striking. You know, you always have teachers striking. You have teachers who are always alert because they are educated. And so, looking at Nalova coming here, if she could not manage issues in the University of Buea, I'm afraid she will not be able to manage hot issues on the table as far as secondary education is concerned. It's my humble opinion, and I hold to that as I speak.
And Milano from Limbe writing to us says that a good day to the panelists. I just want to find out what retirement means in Cameroon context, because I feel that Nalova Lyonga should be on pension. That is Milano that is writing to us from Limbe. Let me come back to you, Barrister. Dr. Nalova Lyonga Pauline Egbe appointed the Minister of Secondary Education. This is a time where the level of secondary education, or education, most especially in the Northwest and the Southwest, many students are not going to school because of insecurity. Many examinations are sometimes postponed, or there are a lot of changes as far as writing ordinary and at advanced level is concerned. With her being at the head of the Ministry of Secondary Education now, perhaps we should expect that there should be change.
Well, I don't have any problem with those appointed. I have a problem with the person appointing and his regime. Like I said, we should not expect anything good from this regime. These are people who inflamed and provoked the Anglophone crisis we are living today. Their names are featuring in a cabinet reshuffle, like Dr. Nalova and Paula Tanganji. You see, this is the kind of nation that we have constructed for 35 years, where a woman comes to Lakentini and cannot be attended to, and it causes a stir. You remove the director of Lakentini, and a few years afterwards, he is a regional delegate for health. So this is the kind of country we've come to after 35 years. So what we keep saying, what I have to say is that she, as a person, will not ask children to go to school. The whole government has struggled for children to go to school. They have their reasons they are not going to school. But the fundamental problem remains, and which this regime cannot solve. This regime cannot solve the fundamental problem, which is that of the Anglophone crisis. They've refused to solve it. So when a regime refuses to solve a problem and has been put there by Cameroonians, the only thing Cameroonians have to do is to flush away that regime.
And meaning that Dr. Nalova Lyonga perhaps might not be a best choice because
there is nothing that will come out from there. There's
she's
nothing.
living at the Douala General Hospital where she was the board chair.
Well, I don't think she's even living. You know, in Cameroon, we have the culture of cumulating. She may be there. You know, I don't. The person she's even replacing, I don't think he has been replaced at Sokatu. Maybe I do not hear. I don't know whether the person she's replacing is no longer Director General of Sokatu. We have cases where people live here, they go and become ministers. Like John Binde, he's still Director General of Medino today, but he had been minister before, many of them. So when you say she is leaving the General Hospital as board chairman, I don't think a new board chairman will be appointed to the Douala General Hospital.
Just to mention that this week, hemodialysis patients at the Douala General Hospital here, they went on strike protesting that they have not been receiving due treatment as is supposed to be done. Tayofa Elvis, the hitherto Ministry of Territorial Administration and the Decentralization has been split into two. We started talking about that earlier on. Is this going to foster the sluggish nature of decentralization we have had in the country for over 20 years today?
Well, the split, first of all, I don't understand what the head of state means by splitting these ministries. I don't understand his hidden agenda, but it's a call for concern. When things come on and people's concern cannot be taken into consideration, we are looking at hot issues at stake. The Anglophone crisis has taught us a lesson that when issues come up, the state needs to give a listening ear, even if two persons are agitating. Because when you hush them down, you give room to other worries that will crop up from other cracks in the wall. And so if we look at splitting these ministries, I said earlier, my worry here is not even at the level of the splitting as per se, because the splitting now is not making any sense. We started early on, we had social affairs and the family, we had a split. We had sports and physical education or youth affairs, we had a split. And we keep on getting that split multiplication effect. And it goes on. If we look at Ghana and Nigeria, we don't have these numerous ministries that we have. CS are flooded everywhere. You go to Yaoundé, you want to rest, you get escort riders passing day in, day out and disturbing the peace of poor Cameroonians. It's not a very good move for a developing country like Cameroon that is still limping. Now, when we look at the split here, decentralization, then we have territorial administration. It doesn't speak well to me because the territorial administration and decentralization has been unable to keep things in order in Cameroon, especially when it comes to local government.
Perhaps that is why the president have decided to split it so as the other ministries should focus on decentralization, which many Cameroonians have failed for several years today.
No, I see it as a political compensation. I'm sorry, at the political part of it.
Who is compensating?
I see it as a head of state compensating people who have done one or two things according to him, because I see, to me, the aspect of splitting, I will say it over and over without watering my mouth, that the splitting aspect will still do us no good in the name of splitting decentralization. At the present ministry of, the former ministry, that is territorial administration and decentralization, could do that job. The problem is policies. If we have a good follow of policies on the ground, it is not the matter of splitting. Don't be surprised that even the man taking charge of the ministry of decentralization will still be found wanting. Why? Because they give you a rope, they give you goat, and they tie the rope. So it's a matter of policy. We have a problem of policy in this country that unless the policy is changed, is revised, and those at the helm of these policies flushed and kept aside for new brains, vibrant, to be put in the system, I'm sorry, we'll be moving around.
Just to remind those that are watching us that we have a good number of reporters posted in many places. We have Agnes Collins, that is presently at the residence of the chairman of the Social Democratic Front in Tare Kumpamenda. He will be telling us what the chairman is saying or how he is reacting to the partial cabinet reshufflement that took place yesterday, Friday. We have Ines Daniel Onduambala, that is standing in Buea in the southwest region of the country. That will be telling us of how the people of the southwest are reacting to the new appointments, most especially to that of Dr. Nalova Lyonga Pauline Egbe, who has been appointed the Minister of Secondary Education. We equally have Kejan Henry Atembe, that is standing by. He is the political desk editor of Canada English. I'll be reacting to the recent appointment. that took place yesterday. Barrister Paul Atanga has been appointed Minister of Territorial Administration. Is that a good move?
We have a government which puts the cart before the horse all the time. It has no interest in the interests of Cameroonians. 22 years after a constitution was voted by a crushing majority, they were not able to implement decentralization. And last December 31st, the head of state came out and told us that he was going to accelerate the process of decentralization. Between splitting the ministry of former Minat and coming up with regional elections, which one accelerates the decentralization procedure? So you see the way they reason. I keep on saying that we cannot expect anything good from them. I earlier said that this is just a distraction. These are political moves to go to the field and keep perpetuating the misery of Cameroonians. I think 2018 should not be a year where Cameroonians will keep remain dupes. I keep on saying that all these moves, there is nothing good that will come out from here. So when we say we split the ministry, Elvis said it, we split social affairs, women affairs, many of them. What has that given to the royal woman of Cameroon, for example? What has that given to children? What has that given to handicaps? Nothing. So all this should be geared towards the well-being of Cameroonians. We don't see it with this regime. So we doubt what that will give. I forget about the persons, but the split to me is of no moment.
However, Elvis, Paul Atanga of recent has not been in very good terms with many persons following his pronouncement as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned. If you go to the town of Bamenda, perhaps many persons will not agree with him for refusing earlier on that the Anglophone problem was not existing. Appointing him from the northwest region of the country, and most especially Dr. Danlova from the southwest region of the country. Is that a policy of appeasement to appease the Anglophones following this crisis?
Yeah, I said earlier along the line that it's a way the government is trying to compensate certain persons. But now, the bad thing in the whole issue is that when you carry out a move that creates chaos and is tantamount to the well-being of the common population, you are instead rewarded. So I begin to ask myself, does it mean that I need to start being very funny to look for my own promotion? So it's a call for concern. Now we see it as some sort of compensation, but no doubt, but it's not very much welcome on the ground. I've been in Bamenda, I'm from Bamenda, I've moved through, I've spoken to the people on the ground. The reaction has been that which everybody is taking everybody unaware. And these are issues that bring down the credibility of a government. When you have government officials, there should be people who have something you can write home. As we are speaking, under normal condition, if this country was the country to reckon with, these persons caught with hate speech, yet government officials should have been indicted earlier. You should have been in jail as I speak. But now we are in a situation whereby they instead get promoted, while some few persons who are even trying to live to their best instead get kicked out of the system. So it keeps all of us in a state of pandemonium. We are worried as we ask ourselves, is this government really a government worth reckoning with? Just like Barrister said already, we are looking at a time whereby we should start thinking of new ideas. It's a call for concern that we have territorial abuse. I don't have any problem with Atanganji in person. I have a problem with some speeches he made. I don't have a problem with...
we're talking about the speeches he made.
Speeches he made are speeches that I, myself, as somebody who comes from the Northwest region, felt too bad looking at those speeches. And so seeing him coming now to head governors and GOs for that matter, territorial administration, I think it's a call for concern. I doubt what he will offer, but to me, it's not a good move.
We're expecting to talk to Anye Collins in Bamenda, but time for us to take a few messages coming in. This one says hello to Newsroom. I think the new government is still a complete failure from the head of state of Cameroon. Most of those that have just there been appointed are compensation. Let every region should take his future in his hands. This message is coming from Monga from Bamenda. We take another message. Greetings to you. To you there, thanks for the forum. My own opinion, the appointment of some ministers into the various ministries will not help matters but aggravate situations in Cameroon. Godi, James, that is writing to us. We take another message. He says, let us dialogue to solve the issue. This one is coming from Bamenda, has not been signed. We shall be getting to Anye Collins, that is presently in the northwest region of the country. We're expecting that the connection or the technicians We get connected to Agi Collins in Bamenda for us to talk with him. Time for us to continue here in the studio. Barrister, recently the oldest senator in Cameroon, Senator for Victor Mukete, mentioned that very few Anglophones are found in the government of President Paul Biya. Now that some of them have been appointed once again, is that a way of answering the cry of the oldest senator?
Well, before I get to that, you know, there have been some controversial statements on his opinions. Before long, they will say he's for federalism. Before long, his children will come out, or some people will come and tell us that he is not for federalism. This shows that we are still lacking in a lot of integrity, in a lot of willpower, a lot of courage in maintaining our positions when it comes to public issues. I know Senator von Mukete. I've read his book, and I find him frank in some statements, in some opinions. But I find it a little bit, how can I say, unserious for him to be in the kind of government or in the kind of party he is and supporting the regime. That's why when he says that Anglophones are not appointed, that personally, that's his opinion. But when you find yourself, you keep saying something, you are against something, but you are in it, that's where I have a problem.
But it shouldn't be a good thing to run away. It should be there to change the situation.
Yes, but what change can they bring from inside? They best know how it functions. So from time to time, they should not come out and make statements to lull us. So coming to your question now on the appointments, like you said, with some Anglophones, it is true that with the past crisis, the crisis we are living till today, Anglophones definitely will be appointed into positions. But what power do they have? What authority do they have? What decision-making ability do they have? That's the question. We are going to Minat. You know very well that all appointments in this country are done by the president. So whether you have a minister who is at Minat, he's not the one who appoints the DOs, he's not the one who appoints the governors, and so on. So what powers will they have? That's why with the SDF, we always talk of a whole system overhaul, where institutions are given powers so that they manage them. And we talk of federalism where governors will not be appointed, governors will be elected. We talk of federalism where regional assemblies will be elected. So when you concentrate so much powers in the hands of one man, whether he appoints 100 Anglophones, we have a prime minister, what is that giving to Anglophones before Anglophones are where they are today? So to me, that is cosmetic. Whether we have 10 Anglophones in there are cosmetic because they will not be decision makers. Look, for example, the same Minat, wherein decentralization is a key issue now, but when they are to do it, they split it and they take it away from the Anglophone they claim to give. So what is that giving us? So to us, it's just playing to the gallery, and the real problems are there. Cameroonians know the real problems. I keep on saying it is a regime overhaul. We just need to send them away, and we need to work on that.
Just talk about the real problems there. If they want to find out from you what the real problem is and how to solve it, what will you say?
Well, I think Barrister is online. We're talking about the real problem in Cameroon. It's a matter of policy. We have poor policy implementation on the ground.
Maybe I'll come back to you. Time for us to talk to Kejan Henry Atembe, that is standing by. Kejan, if you are getting me, good afternoon. We shall be getting the volume of the set there to talk to Kejan Henry Atembe. If you are getting us, are you there, Kejan Henry Atembe?
Yes, I am getting you 100%.
Yeah, good afternoon, Kejan. You are the editor-in-chief of Political Desk editor of Canadian English. You just be going through of the various appointments carried out yesterday by the President of the Republic. What is your take on this recent appointment?
Well, the appointment came like a shell and took everybody unaware. Coming at a time when there were speculations on the health of the president, coming at a time when you had social media stories on the falsification of his signatures, and at a time when Cameroonians were expecting something bigger. In fact, coming at the eve of the senatorial election, this is the bombshell. And I want to see Dominic Meme that the shake-up that we observed yesterday is probably a tip of the iceberg of what might come big after the presidential election this year. But if you look at the biggest of all is the appointment of the Minister of Special Duties at the President of the Republic, Paul Asaganji, who is going in as the Minister of administration. And you can imagine that there is a swap. He is going to occupy the position that was occupied by Rene Emmanuel Sani. And Emmanuel Sani is going to occupy the position he was occupying as a special duty at the presidency. Don't forget that the special duties at the presidency is a minister without a portfolio. But when you see a big minister, Rene Sani, occupying a function without a portfolio, there is certainly something cooking, which is going to be even very bigger for Rene Sani. And some read from a reading and a prudent research can understand that Rene Sani might still be the one managing territorial administration. Somehow, if you look at the reading, it is clear. Otherwise, how would you tell me that the minister almighty minister of territorial administration and decentralization becomes a minister without portfolio? That is the third aspect. Look at now. It is just like satisfying the Anglophones who have been clammed up, and that the ministry has been split into two. It tells you that the PIA wants to carry out effective decentralization like he has been preaching, which is like shifting away from the clarion call for federalism. So he is now trying to devote more power to decentralized connectivity. That is another aspect of the giant step. Hope the central government will not have a grip again on that. But take another sovereign ministry like that of secondary education. Don't forget that amongst other grievances of the Anglophones is the fact that 3 ministries exist in education and there is just no one that is manned by an Anglophone. Now they have brought a seasoned educationist in the person of Professor Nalova Lyonga to man that ministry. So you can now see the dynamics of Mr. Pia in this dispensation at the eve of too many major elections that are taking place in the country. That is commendable. Of course, Nedengo, the Almighty, has been shifted back to the kitchen. You can imagine. Look at the Almighty Belinda Ekputu matter has been left out from the presidency. It means that Mr. Pia is trying to play a game where young people will come in and have a grip of the administration of this country.
Kejan Henry Atembe?
Yes, sir.
You just mentioned there that the Ministry of Secondary Education, they have appointed Professor Nalova Lyonga to head the Ministry of Secondary Education. When you look at her track record from the University of Buea, passing through the Douala General Hospital, where she is present, the board chair of that particular hospital, look at her handling of the situation in the southwest region of Cameroon, that is in Buea, where university students were flogged, dragged to the mud right in front of her. Is she competent enough to handle that particular ministry?
If you ask me that question, I would say she is so competent. Most of the word competent, don't forget she is a seasoned educationist. But let us not mix things up. The fact that police brutalize students in the university is not, because she is going into a ministry, it is not university governance.
Okay.
University governance should be drifted away from the governance in the Ministry of Education. She is seasoned. Let us not mix things up.
Okay.
Another aspect that it is somehow a solace to the Anglophones is the appointment of a young boy in the person of Elo Poche as the Secretary General at the presidency, number 1 and number 2. That is a solace. But there is still a worry. Because when you look at the dynamics, the Southwest region, yes, they have had almost everything in this government. Nalova Lyonga is there, secondary education. Elo Poche is there at the presidency of the republic. But the Bama people are still asking if they should always play the second fiddle. Tasson Paul is going back to a ministry he knows. Vision 2035 was drafted by Tasson Paul. We know these things. Go and read the books. The handwriting is clear on the wall. He designed Vision 2035 when he was there with Ripon Mutaze. He is coming now as a junior minister. Does it mean that the people of the PLM, because that is the geopolitics of it all. Now the Bayangi people are still very comfortable with Eno Mengon. They were expecting another Bayangi man to be appointed Secretary General at the presidency of the Republic number 2. or better still, the Prime Minister. Now, Yan has consolidated the position as the Prime Minister as it is to be the third Yan's government, which means the people will still say that, well, the Prime Minister's position has slipped up their fingers again. Look at the Northwest region. All other issues maintained. They are flushed out. The Minister of Forestry, Ngwese, it means that the Bakosi people have seen one ministry removed from them. And they have injected somebody like Jules Doré Ndungu, who is coming from the Prime Minister out of it, and who has been managing other aspects of the Ministry of Decentralization. So you understand that a lot of things are cooking ahead of in the days ahead.
Thank you very much, Kejan Henry Atembe. Time for us to meet Barrister Tenga Charles and Triumpha Elvis that are here with me in the studio to react on some selling points you have just mentioned there. Thank you very much, Henry. Nice weekend.
Thank you very much, Dominic. Good afternoon to your panelists.
Thank you so much. Triumpha Elvis, just listen to Kejan Henry Atembe there making some pronouncement saying that appointing Professor Nalova Lyonga to the Ministry of Secondary Education is a square peg in a square hole.
Well, I said earlier, without mixing words, I said earlier again, without water in my mouth, that if I work on track records, there are two things here. Being inclined academically and then taking administration are two different things. That's what people need to understand. Okay. If you tell me you were studying Dr. Nalova in a classroom, it's very perfect. I'll tell you she's very much competent. If you tell me you're sending her to carry out administration regarding education issues, when she's coming out, that's why I differ a little bit with Kejan, because he was talking about the university milieu, different from the secondary education milieu. All is education, and all has to do with manning people. So if you are at the university milieu and you cannot handle things technically, it means that at the level of another education department, it will not be easy. What I'm saying, because I am saying that even secondary education is even hot. It's hotter these days. Teachers are more enlightened and more wounded than before. And so thinking that she herself is an intellectual, that we don't doubt it. But when it comes to administration, track records, dialysis, we understand patients at dialysis center here in Douala have been on strike. All right, it's a worry. They have been agitating because they don't see the reason why they should be having problems at the level of the dialysis center. And yet, that's a board chair. So board chair, you have people agitating at the level of the hospital, Vice Chancellor of the University of Buea, students agitating, and you have security forces coming in and cracking on them. It's a whole issue. That's the more reason why I say that if we had a taste to revisit Professor Lambi when he was Vice Chancellor of the University of Buea, that's why we say that there you mixed academic with administration. Those two things can move if you fit in the shoes. But when you fit in the shoes of only academics, we should be able to tell you, because if we don't say that, this issue will keep repeating. And of course, at the secondary education where we are, I don't see her delivering the goods. Let's just watch and see.
Watch and see. Barrister Kejan Henry have given an analysis there, a brilliant one for that matter, naming some tribes in the southwest and the northwest regions of the country. From the analysis of Kejan Henry Atembe, it gives the impression that there's some sort of compensation here. People are giving positions, to suit them for their loyalty perhaps to the President of the Republic.
Yes, it has been the case for the last 35 years, wherein meritocracy has been put to the background, and we only have people sharing the national cake in brackets, as we may say. We'll come back to you shortly. Time for us to get to Bamenda in the northwest region of the country, where Agnes Collins is standing by. We are told you discussed with the chairman of the Social Democratic Front, Nijon Funde, minutes ago, talking about the recent cabinet reshufflement or cabinet reshuffle that took place yesterday. Agnes Collins, you are getting us. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. You are welcome to Bamenda.
Agnes Collins, you have been talking to people in the northwest, specifically in Bamenda, on the recent appointment of some members of government. What is their take on that?
Yes, we have been talking to some people on the streets, and especially off the camera. Many of them do not want to express themselves openly to the camera, for limited obvious reasons. And one of them, but I don't think this one is for obvious reasons. Especially I'm talking about this Nijon Funde, who has just told us not expect himself from this subject that he has been granting interviews to journalists, but on this subject you will not speak. But out of the mic, that is of the mic discussions that we had with him, he expressed much disgust with the appointment of some person into the government, and of course he was taking conclusions, and he mentioned the post that has been appointed there, that is some mere window dressing of water of some of those who were appointed yesterday into the new president here.
Now, Nicholas, we know that Paul Atanga from the Northwest, from Bamenda, has been appointed the pioneer minister of territorial administration, given that the Ministry of Territorial Administration and the Decentralization has been split into two. How are people taking such a news over there?
Yes, people it is expected to not be much talked about the decentralization in Cameroon. And the split of the former Ministry of Territorial Administration and Decentralization that has now become the Ministry of Territorial Administration and that of decentralization and local development. So it's a way of speeding up the much talked about, much competent decentralization in Cameroon, which people have been saying is part of the cost of the current savings and the problem that has made them forced into something else today. So people are expecting more, especially from the ministry that has got to do with decentralization and local development. So councils, local councils, of course, they don't have 24 councils, and these 24 councils are expecting more from that newly created ministry. And of course, neighboring Southwest Region 2, where that is the region of the country, where people too are expecting more from this new ministry that is going to lead on decentralization. And the government itself, let the government use the government, the impact of the government in their local development, the management of their day-to-day activities, their local issues, right at the grassroots.
Okay, maybe the last question before we meet our guest to react on what you are mentioning there. Contrary to what many people expected, the post of the Prime Ministry has been maintained by a Northwesterner, Philemon Yang. Is that a surprise?
Well, Dominic, can you take over that?
I say, contrary to what many people expected, that the post of the Prime Ministry will be taken away from the Northwest region of the country, Philemon Yang has been maintained as the Prime Minister despite controversy of the importance of the position of the Prime Minister for Anglophones. Is that a good news over there?
Well, I wish I got you well. You talk about the Prime Minister Philemon Yang was maintained
Sure.
as Prime Minister.
Yes, that's my worry.
Yes. It is also the similar reaction to some people saying the Sultan was going to go out and be there for long. But since the President of the Republic decided to renew his confidence in him, so they expect too that is going to work, especially the decentralization issue, into being a part of the Northwest region, is going to do things at least in a positive way as far as decentralization and local development is concerned. I keep saying about decentralization and local development because many people have spoken about that here as being one of the main causes of the current stalemate in Cameroon with the Anglophones problem. So emphasis being laid, many people have their eyes on that. So we expect something to change in that direction. Let the Anglophones feel something that they are part of the country, so that secessionist tendencies maybe I should say one more time from what people are saying. They are saying the government is saying Cameroon is one indivisible and united Cameroon and the world. So they expect to see that change, that subtle way of keeping Cameroon in Cameroon, so that we build that sense of unity.
Okay.
And oneness.
All right, thank you very much, Anyi Collins, for giving us update of what is happening in Bamenda, the various reactions as far as the new appointment of some ministers is concerned. Triumpha Elvis, Anyi Collins mentioned there, the northwest region of the country maintains the position of the prime minister of the country, despite several newspaper writings and several members of government and equally some senators saying that Anglophones have been holding the position of the Prime Minister for quite some time, but it has no impact. The maintenance of Philimuya as the Prime Minister of the country, is that a surprise?
Well, to me, I don't even see that as a surprise, because what those from the Northwest region are asking is the fact that they want to know, they are seeking to know what all these ministries have done to Northwest. Northwest has not had any impact based on the appointments, whether Prime Minister is there or not, except maybe some members of the ruling party who, for their own personal reason, could think that it's good. So, basically, when you speak to the people on the street who constitute the majority, they will tell you it's a no surprise, because whether it's taken off from the Northwest and sent to Southwest or Southwest to Northwest, what we keep on asking is, what portfolio does the Prime Minister has when it comes to the governance in Cameroon? You understand that the Prime Minister had made several movements to the Northwest region based on the Anglophone crisis and the problems. Yet, we still find the problems staying where they are. Now, had it been, we're talking about a Prime Ministry whereby it's independent, a Prime Ministry that can take decisions and decisions go, then the man of the Northwest will be happy. But if we ourselves here, we understand that, just like Barrister was saying, it's a one-man show, whereby as the head of state decides, even before you take some major decisions, even at the level of any other ministry, you need to seek authorization and clearance. And so if you don't have that free hand, the next question will be asking, as people from the Northwest, what significance is it to us? Whether you maintain Prime Minister in Northwest or not, basically the people continue to suffer. And we have been on the ground, we see them suffering day in, day out. And when you see that economic stagnation in the Northwest region, you should not be rejoicing, because if the Prime Minister has stood somewhere and given a decree independently that helps solve a situation on the ground, then we'll be happy. I've attended so many constitutive meetings with the Prime Minister where you have CPDM barons come round and they talk and talk and talk, and they say they're taking it to Yaoundé. But if we have a Prime Minister who comes on the ground and hit the table and things move on the spot, it's different. Now, when you only come and collect the grievance of the people, you take to Yaoundé at the mercy of the man who appoints you, I don't see any good it is to us. So I'm commenting on that. I comment with so many really mixed feelings, because I feel so sad that we have a prime ministry that cannot enact direct change on the ground, but only take information to transfer to hierarchy, which can be taken as well as it can be rejected.
I see. Barrister, maybe the last word as far as this appointment is concerned. Maybe to be objective, what would you expect this new government to do objectively to move the country forward?
Dominic, before the report came in from Bamenda, I was saying that for the past 3.5 decades, we've been accustomed to looking at power sharing as some cake that must be shared, each tribe. We're talking about Henry Kejam's report, Bayangi, Balondo, Bakosi. These are archaic ways of managing a country. Unfortunately, this is what the Renouveau has been dishing to Cameroon for the past 3.5 decades. In 1990, when the Lions went as far as the quarterfinals of the World Cup, there were about 9 Bassas in that team. Nobody ever said there were 9 Bassas, because they delivered. Everybody was proud of them. So now when we keep going tribe, you remove somebody from this tribe, you want to put another person on that tribe, that does not help a country, because you put meritocracy at the rear and you put meritocracy at the fore and take you put meritocracy at the rear and bring idiocy, favoritism at the fore. And this is what has landed us to where we are. That is why we need to strengthen institutions. We need to be sincere and go back to debates on the form of the nation. Imagine a federated state wherein you elect your governors, you have your powers, you have to do your schools, your health. Whether that person, you're not going to be asking whether it's a person from this tribe or from that tribe, because we want schools. Now we have a prime minister from the Northwest, we have a minister of territorial administration. But we don't have roads. Roads even going to the northwest, we don't have. Roads in Bamenda, we don't have. Hospitals, we don't have. Schools, we don't have. So which one is important to the people? So what I think is that we need to sit back sincerely in this country and come up with a form of state that will help Cameroonians. Late Lapiro Dembanga said that when a coach changes players and changes players and changes players, as we've been living in Cameroon, and there are no results, I think the coach himself has to be changed. And this is the point where we need to change the coach. We need to change the regime in Cameroon. So asking me what I expect from that government, I've earlier told you that nothing will change. The Cameroonian misery will remain. If Cameroonians want to continue, let's continue. Want to change?
You're sounding pessimistic.
No, that is not pessimism.
Rather than being optimistic that something is going to change.
For 35 years, what has changed? That is it. 35 years. This is a country we are close to 60 years after independence, and we cannot come together to dialogue. We have the Anglophone crisis from the Anglophone problem till today. We cannot dialogue. So what do you expect to change? We must only change the people who are manning the country. That is the change we need.
And the change can only come from the ballot boxes. We understand that we're having a presidential elections this year. And on the 25th of March, that is this month, we'll be having senatorial elections. We shall be taking transition before we get to our next topic. But first, just time for us to indicate that late Honorable J.E.K., that is Honorable Ntoye, of Member of Parliament, or former Member of Parliament of Akko Miseje constituency, will be laid to rest today in his native village in Akko, in the Donga Bantu of the northwest region of the country. I heartfelt condolences with the population of Akko subdivision that have lost one of their illustrious sons. We take a transition. When we come back, we shall be talking about the famous letter of the chairman of the Social Democratic Front to the president of the country. We'll be talking about the letter of the chairman, Nijon Frundi, to the president of the republic. But time for us to take a few messages you have written to us. All of you watching us anywhere you find yourself. Hi to panelists. Good day. I am Ngale, writing from Malingubuya. I strongly believe that the new cabinet isn't different from the previous ones. Therefore, we should expect nothing from them. Please, I wish to inform the barrister that we need to put the online platform in place for the upcoming elections. We are behind SDF. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
We take this one. It says all authority is put in place by God, good or bad, to do God's work on earth. That is Romans 13 verse 1 to 5. The mentality of the people determines their leaders. Pray like Daniel to change the heart of the leader to know God and love his people. The message has not been signed. We take this other message coming from Clinton. It says, I'm Clinton from Bamenda. In my own opinion, I think the appointment or the reappointment of some of these ministers was a sham, because it gives a solution to the current, or it gives a solution to the current predicament. The post given to Paul Atanganji, that is one of the worst decisions the president of the country has ever taken. That is a strong one there. This one say it is like when you want promotion in the regime, you should cause human blood to flow. Paul Atanganji and Professor Nalova Lyonga are good examples of such cases. They too, Anglophones, are nothing to offer. This one is coming from Che, writing from us, or writing from Bamenda in the northwest region of Cameroon. There are so many messages, we can't take all. We are going to take a few. Good day to you, newsroom. To me, I don't know what someone like Paula Tanganji tell the people of Bamenda. Ferdinand from Bamenda. Thank you so much, Ferdinand. We take this other one. It says the Cameroonian cabinet is more of an old people's club. on a kind of a friendship club for their selfish interests is coming from the judge. Time to time we shall be taking some of your messages, but time for us to discuss about the letter of the chairman of the Social Democratic Front, Nijon Funde, that was made public this week. The chairman of the SDF mentioned that the country is gradually but steadily moving towards a civil war. In a letter he has written to the President of the Republic, he called for urgent dialogue. Let me start with you, Tayofa Elvis. Nijon Funde's letter to the President of the Republic calling for urgent dialogue. Is the letter coming a little bit late?
Well, it's not coming a little bit late, because I think that if you are a leader, you must not be reminded of what you're supposed to do. I think what Nijon is doing is simply reminding the head of state what he is supposed to do. And if you look at the contents of the letter, that's why I keep on telling most of our brothers who keep on hitting a nail on the party SDF or on the chairman, that if you look at the chronology and you get to reflect or have a flashback on history, you will see that it is true. SDF has gone a long way, and SDF has opened the eyes, because if we're able to talk about freedom of speech today, I think it's thanks to SDF. That courage that was mounted in Tarikoli in the 90s, if I was there, I would not have had that courage. That's the truth. I think if I can talk today on a platform, it's because SDF gave a leadway. So looking at the speech of the chairman, I was the person when that speech was being read in the hall there at Congress Hall. I realized that the elements of the things that are causing the Anglophone problems and the worries are embedded in that letter. But just as chairman said before reading that letter, this is a letter that he sent early February and does not know if that letter has reached the head of state. Meaning that there are always some hoodlums who stand along the road, always willing to block these issues. That's the more reason why I always say that head of state is supposed to be alert. Because when letters come to you and don't get to you, and you finally get them on air, you should get to your secretariat to find out why this letter came up early as 18 February, and up till present is not on my table. That's where we are saying that we need a proactive president who takes action on the spot. I think if people know that letters that come to the head of state does not get to him, and if he gets to realize there will be sanctioned, people will not be joking with it. Now, we are moving towards the civil war. I said, on coming here, I moved through Kumba, through Manfe. And when I stopped at Women Village, it was so touching. No single soul in Women Village. We're talking around Guti area there. Okay. Now, I only found elements of B who were all around there. A village deserted, now being occupied by military personnel, should tell you that something is wrong somewhere. It means that we are in the military state, not that we are fast moving, we are already in the military state. And the number of checks that we had on the road and things like that. So it tells you that that chairman's letter is timely. And if you put in a letter of this magnitude to the head of state, and care is not taken and the civil war comes, know that warning had been given early. But then there are indicators on the ground. The head of state has all those indicators. If the military personnel are able to tell him what is happening on the ground, I've been to Kwakwa village, I took time to go there, it is a call for concern. People might blow their mouth wherever they blow because they have not moved. We who are journalists taking the risk to move in the war-torn area, Woman village, Kwakwa village, and when I went right down to Oyumojo, I felt when you are in the area, you see fear already. You see some fear in you, knowing that where you are, something is wrong certainly. Because you don't see life around that area. You see all the military be stationed here and there. So it's a call for concern that the chairman's letter sent to the head of state is timely, and so the head of state should surely know what is happening on the ground if he has a good communication chain of network. Okay. So to me, I think this is a letter that should not be taken for granted that, as usual, it's just opposition talking. But I think the head of state now should get up from sleep and say, but from this letter, let me go down to find out really. And if he's finding out, I am sure this issue we call for dialogue that is taking long will come as fast as possible.
A letter to Bill Peace, Barrister Tanga, when the chairman of the Social Democratic Front says, and I quote, the increasing use of hate speech is drawing Cameroon towards a civil war. Is he in any way exaggerating the situation?
No. We're already living a disastrous situation, so we cannot say he's exaggerating. He's just being realistic. He's just telling us what is happening. You know, this is not the first time the national chairman of the SDF is writing to President Biya on the Anglophone crisis. He said this was the fourth letter, and he was making this fourth letter public because he hasn't heard any reaction from the first three. You understand? And this brings to mind this issue of ignoring and neglecting your people. When the SDF was launched in 1990, as early as 1991, the national chairman of the SDF started writing letters to the President of the Republic, to Mr. Biya, telling him that we should sit and talk about Cameroon. This never happened. The first time they met was in December 2010. That was 20 years after. You can imagine the kind of leader we have in Bamenda. And after that meeting, it wasn't a serious meeting because after that,
So ceremonial.
the chairman has been to the Unity Palace for ceremonial occasions. It's not a meeting, New Year wishes. And the last time he went to the Unity Palace, when the Lions won the Nations
African
Cup,
Cup of Nations.
all of us saw how he held the president and said, this thing you are joking with will bring this country to its knees. And we are living it today. So we have a leader who does not listen. You write letters to him, he will not even reply. He thinks that he has the magic solution to every problem. And look at where we are going to. So what I want to say is that the chairman, in coming out public with this letter, is to tell Cameroonians, let us know what the SDF has been doing, especially at a time when we had threats from Anglophone activists who seem to want to fight against the SDF. And they don't even know that the SDF is fighting this cause, the Anglophone cause and the Cameroonian cause, more than every other person, with the legitimate means that we have. Let's not forget, with the legitimate means that we have. Because these people who are agitating cannot write letters to Mr. Biya. But the SDF has been writing, and the SDF has told people that we've met him, and we've told him that let him not joke with this thing, and we are all seeing what is happening on the ground. So the national chairman came out to tell us that he has asked, and we've seen him ask several times, that let there be genuine dialogue. Let there be pardon. He said it. He even mentioned how cases of pardon have brought countries back on the rail. And even mentioned him, the President Biya, that he pardoned people who are ministers today. So why can't he come out?
Who attempted in 1982.
Exactly. Why can't he pardon these people? Let's all sit together and discuss and find a way forward. So we see that we are before somebody who has decided to be deaf to the plights of Cameroonians. So saying that we are moving towards some civil war is not any exaggeration. It's just the reality.
Taifa Elvis, I'll come to you later, but somebody just sent a message asking what if it's not, will not be better for the chairman to call the president on phone and then tell him the problem. We are in an Android generation where things are faster than writing.
No. You see, when you govern a country, you don't govern as if it's a joke.
It's not a joke. We have seen Donald Trump calling the president of Russia.
Yeah, but we are not yet in that kind of society. We are still a primitive and backward society.
Exactly. Primitive?
Do you know his number? I know people. Cardinal Tumi once said. Well, let me tell you something. Cardinal Tumi once said in an interview that he met President Biya once, and President Biya gave him a number that he has been calling to today, and he has never been able to get to him.
Meaning the number is ringing or the number has been blocked.
What I want to tell you is that if you block yourself from writing, it is not a phone call that will go through.
That is true.
Yes.
All right, so we understand that. Taifa Elvis Nijon Fundi says that he has been in politics for over 3 decades today, and is that particular later he mentioned that he mastered the Anglophone problem. If the president will give him a chance to explain issues, it will be better.
Yes, it will obviously be better. That's what I'm saying, that the head of state has some lapses in his governance. Lapses in the sense that when it comes to crucial issues, there are some key persons you must contact on the ground. Even when we're talking about forming the Commission of Bilingualism and Multiculturalism and all the like, these are issues you contact Cardinal Tumi, you contact Nijon Fundi, you contact some stakeholders who have Gaga Aman Aji, you understand? These are persons you contact them on a table, even one-on-one separately. You seek their opinion before you come down to enact. But once you pick up decisions you enact without consulting them, the decisions will always be found wanting because you would think that they represent the general interest of Cameroonians when at the end it doesn't. So if Nijon gives an utterance that he masters, in which he masters, because I think Nijon has gone around this country more than 20 times. There are several that have been in his convoy as a journalist, following him following him through rough terrains, and we've been going around. So if we look at it, if a man of this caliber tells you that I master the terrain, and you know as a player he masters, and tells you if given a chance he can put a way forward, what's wrong in getting opinions down? That's my problem. So we keep on mystifying issues when we have the interest of the state at stake. What is wrong with the head of state? Say, okay, Mr. Nijon, come, sit down. You said you have something. Don't let me hear. It's not for hearing sake, as I mean hearing,
taking action,
reasoning, and taking into consideration. Call Cardinal Tumi. Yes, you have been speaking a lot in Douala. Please come, sit down. You get this Gaga Aman Aji. I hear I've been talking. Whether it's Keremuna or Barisamuna, whoever, you put them on the ground. This is what we need to forge this country ahead. Because I've been saying over and over, Some people think they are more patriotic than others. And that's why when you speak, there are people go around hunting you. You start sending a security forces to be hunting you behind for reasons you cannot tell. But nobody is more patriotic than the other. We speak because we have the love for the country. And when we speak, the powers that be and the errand boys around the head of state should be able to convey a good message to him. Not to say that Lezanglola, because that is always the message we get here. And at the end of it, we keep stagnating at the same point. So I think if chairman gives this kind of points that he has a mastery, head of state with a good gesture should invite him to the Unity Palace. They sit down and talk, and then he should begin to implement. If it doesn't work, he cannot say, chairman, you brought me a proposal, I put it, did not go. That's when he can begin to ignore his messages, his letters. Then we'll understand that at least you tried as head of state, it did not go. Then not even to start at all, to give a listening ear, not to talk of putting in practice or starting to put in place the few things that he is proposing.
Somebody is reacting here saying that the dear panelists, let's note that Mr. Biya does not need letters. He knows all what is going on in the country, perhaps. Is it right?
I would not want to think so.
If you know what is going on, the only way to convince us is that act properly on the ground. But the actions on the ground show that he's completely away, if I may say so. In the same letter that the national chairman wrote, he said, you, the president of this country, you headed a commission when Ahijo was president of this country. So you know this thing more than every other person. So it is just some kind of disrespect, some kind of downlooking that has brought us to where we are. Because if you start with the Anglophone problem, being the modification or the amendment of the Article 47 in the 1961 Constitution, wherein it was agreed that this federal state should not be touched. Since then till today, it has been downplayed. That is why we are where we are. So, the chairman said, Mr. Biya has headed commissions and he knows. So, when he sits now and says that, okay, the solution will come through the Commission on Bilingualism and Multiculturalism. That's what he said in the speech. So, which means that he has narrowed it down to bilingualism and multiculturalism. That is not the problem. So when somebody says that he knows everything, and even he himself comes to talk, it tells you that it is a bilingual and multicultural problem. We begin to wonder whether he is at the same level with those he's governing. Now,
thank God you are a barrister and you are here. We know that for some time now, over 3 weeks, some 47 ambassadorial leaders that were taken from Nigeria to Cameroon since they arrived in Yaoundé. They have not had access to meet their lawyers nor family members. I was talking to one lawyer in the course of the week who said they have filed a complaint for them to appear in court, but they have not been able to meet their lawyers. When Nijon Frundi in his letter says President Paul Biya have negotiated with Boko Haram to take over people that were kidnapped by the group Boko Haram, so it will not be a taboo to negotiate with secessionists. What do you think about that?
When we talk of dialogue, we mean all-inclusive. You cannot dialogue with somebody who hasn't got a different view from what you have. So if some people believe that we should secede, why not listen to them? If some people believe that we should remain as a federal state, why not listen to them? And we'll come to a middle point which will be beneficial to the whole nation. So to me, dialoguing with whoever is not a problem. Like you've rightly said, we've gone out to dialogue with terrorists, Boko Haram, to release especially foreigners. So why can't we talk with those who've arrested and we claim they are with us? Why can't we show them to the public? Why can't we allow their lawyers meet them? I think these are steps that will appease the situation, because when we say they are there in Yaoundé and nobody sees them, I think it's inflammatory rather than appeasing the situation. So as a lawyer, like you've asked, every lawyer, every accused person should have the right to be visited by his lawyer and his family. I don't know why it is being refused.
Is there any case of violation of human rights here?
Definitely, definitely. You have a right to your proper defense. It's not that you must be acquitted, no. But to trial, you have a right to fair hearing, and this is prepared by your advocates, by your lawyers. So if your lawyers cannot meet you, how then will they prepare your defense?
Taifa Elvis, the chairman, this is the fourth letter he has written to the President of the Republic. No positive response. The Social Democratic Front, before holding its National Elective Convention in Bamenda, there have been several threats. Just to mention that this week, the residence of the chairman, part of it went down on flames from unknown quarters. We are learning that 5 persons arrested so far as far as that incident is concerned. Do you have the impression that the chairman is being listened to here when he writes? When he writes, keep writing, this is the fourth letter, no response. What else should the party do as far as making sure that peace come back to the country?
Well, I might be talking still at the point of as a political analyst,
sure,
since as they have their communication unit. But what I think is that as a political analyst, what if the chairman has been writing and no action has been taken? Now, and we need to keep the issues under control.
And there is a need to bring about lasting peace, and because he mentioned that the country is driving towards.
So the only thing I can say without mixing words is that I've been telling most people outside there that while waiting for something, you should be working on something. Now, what we are saying here is that the chairman is taking the bull by the horn. Other political parties, you come in. What people need to do is that when we send letters and there's no reaction, people should continue to register massively, because the ballot box this time is not going to be easy as per se as before. Now, when people register massively, and probably you join the party of your choice, I don't want to say SD or whatever, you join the party of your choice, and you are sure that your votes will count, get the votes on the ballot box, and you root out the person you don't want, and that's the person you want.
That is where many people are even criticizing the Social Democratic Front for criticizing yet their entry for election. Why is it that the SDF cannot stay aside? Maybe I ask the question to Barrister, who is a strong militant of the Social Democratic Front. SDF, wanting peace to reign in the country, why can SDF not stay out of the elections to make sure that there is peace before any elections take place in the country?
No. I will answer your question by referring you to the logo of the SDF. On the logo of the SDF, you find a ballot box, a transparent one for that matter, and a scale. Because the SDF believes that to acquire power, that is our standpoint, it will be through the ballot box in an equal opportunity environment. It may take us 100 years to get there, but that's the best way. That is why in 1992, Chairman Frunze would have insisted on his victory and would have turned this country upside down. In fact, the genocide we later on learned happened in Rwanda in 94, would have happened here in 92. But he said that he did not form the SDF to rule Cameroonians after shedding blood, or he did not form the SDF to rule stones, but Cameroonians. So, going for elections is an option that the SDF has taken. And we've been winning in some places and losing in others. Cameroonians should ask themselves, what have we done to win? And we'll do what we've done to win in some other places, in places where we've not won. That's simple. There are no two options. There are two options only. Either the ballot box or the bullet. Now we already have a chaotic situation because some people think the bullet will be the best option.
Which is not the best? Which
is not the best, because we will have brothers and sisters in Nigeria who are refugees. Elvis talked about villages which have completely deserted. We've not even gone far with the bullet option. So what stops us from going with the ballot paper option? Simply because in that option, everybody can contribute. You just need to make sure that you are registered to vote. By the time you say your vote will be frauded or whatever, make sure your vote is there. But most people who clamor and say, no, the votes will not give anything, their votes are not even there. Start by doing what you can do. Start by doing what is necessary. Before long, you will see that you've done what is possible and you've done what you think is impossible. So let's go back, like you asked, with the SDF going to elections. That's why the SDF has decided not to boycott any elections, because it's a learning process. If we need to go to 10 senatorial elections, for example, before having a majority in Senate, before Cameroonians understand that to go to senatorial elections, you need first of all to have the electorate, that will be fine. So we will not go to 9 and leave the 10. So we need to keep going for these senatorial elections, for example, so that Cameroonians should understand that to get senators, you need to have municipal councillors. And we have council elections in a few months. So if we did not learn the lesson in 2013, this is another opportunity for us to learn the lesson in 2018, maybe in 2023, maybe in 2028, and so forth. So going for elections is only normal for a political party which has decided that it will gain power through the ballot box.
Taiva Evis, perhaps your last reaction on the letter of the chairman, Nijon Frunze. We're running out of time.
Yeah, I think the last reaction is for the fact that I think people have been castigating Nijon Frunze and the SDF party. I think what I see in it as a political analyst, it's a national party. And so being a national party, it's working on national party lines, and therefore should not be relegated as like an Anglophone party where people think that they should stay out of election. They have national representation. I was in the conference there. I covered it, and I saw people coming from all other regions of the country. So let the party go in for election and put their votes and change things. Some people have been telling me, no, you cannot change things in the ballot box. But I think things will never be the same. There's a lot of awareness now. People know what it takes to fight for what belongs to them. I think if SDF goes to the ballot box with everybody supporting the party or supporting any other party, whether it's APF, MRC, and the victory comes up, I think it will be difficult to steal the victory this time, because the rate of awareness is so high that if you clown with it, the country can descend on you.
Thank you very much, time for Elvis, journalist and a political analyst right away from the northwest region of the country, coming to attend the program. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Special greetings to all those who bothered listening to us, that all the contributions we did here was out of good faith, and so let no security force come running after me because you will not see me.
Barrister Atanga Charles Mbambole, author of the book What Future for the Social Democratic Front After 27 years. We thank you for coming to share your opinion and your views with Cameroonians out there.
Thank you once again, Dominic, and thank you to our tele viewers. And like I said, 2018 is an important year. Let all of us participate in changing things in Cameroon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We thank Anye Collins, that is in the northwest region of the country. Anye Collins that gave us a contribution from Bamenda. We thank Political Desk editor Kejan Henry Atembe that equally sent his contribution. We're thanking all the technicians behind the cameras, and those behind the machines that gave us right images and the sounds for this edition of the program to come home to you. Most especially thanks to those who sent us messages. We read some of them we couldn't read because of time. We're thanking all of you for watching us. We remind you that you can still watch this edition of the program tomorrow Sunday from midday to 1:30. The program shall be rebroadcast just for you. For presentation, my name is Dominic Mememwa Kimo. Wish you a nice weekend.